This is Abunath.
Say hello to the folks. Hello to the folks. This is a powerful weapon. So powerful, the people who made it decided it was too powerful. So they split it apart and shot it into space, because I guess breaking it is out of the question. Krull has made it his life's work to find it, because he was born into a world where suffering built character, and he thinks people need that lesson. As usual, this whole thing is because some old guy is pissed off at millennials. Uhura tries to confront him, but in the process, Crableg crew member was left inside a sealed room with the weapon, which opens and sends out a cloud of nasty stuff that disintegrates her over 5 seconds. Not the most pleasant way to go, although the agent of death is probably still top of the list. But now is when Kirk arrives to be distracting. An endless number of Kirks riding around on motorcycles. I think this is what Justin Lin's subconscious looks like. While he's doing that, Jayla is able to get in some sniping, and Bones and Spock can free the prisoners. So far, things are going without a hitch. Looks like someone remembered the hitch. Also complicating things is that Uhura isn't with the others. She was taken away by Krull, so that when he was monologuing, someone would be on hand in order to appreciate it. So Spock has to come and rescue her. Keep up the good work. But they're beamed back, along with all the rest of the prisoners, leaving just Kirk, who has his beacon for transport, and Jayla, who lost it in a fight with Krull's #1 minion. Since leaving behind the person who didn't want to come in the first place because she didn't want to be stuck here would be kind of dickish, even for a man who once gawked at a woman despite being asked not to, Kirk goes to grab onto her and bring both of them back together. It's big damn hero stuff after all, and the bar is higher than riding a motorcycle around. Hey, this isn't Star Trek Kino's journey after all. Uhura and Sulu explain Krull's plan, to use the Black Cloud thing on Yorktown. The other Black Cloud, I mean. Well, he's probably going to use that one, too. It's not like a video game. You don't have to call your attack and stick with it. Spock points out that this goes way beyond even the population of Yorktown. With them annihilated, Krull would be free to use all the advanced technology on the base. And we've seen what he can accomplish while stranded on a planet that's nothing but evergreen forests and rock quarries. So we just can't let that happen. Alright, so we've got to stop him. The problem is, all the work Jayla's done is great, but the ship wasn't meant to land and take off.
Mr. Sulu, we have to achieve terminal velocity in order for the stabilizers to provide lift. Are you sure this drop is high enough to do that?
Well, it's not as if you can go out and pick a different mountain to fall off of. So, time to put this to the test.
Are you sure it isn't time for a colorful metaphor?
Okay, hope we didn't need any of that. They make it into orbit, though, and Jayla is overjoyed to see her house has finally taken her away from this planet, although there may be nowhere to fly to if Krull has his way. And it looks like he's going to get his way, as his swarm quickly swarms the Yorktown defenses. Kirk's first move is to fight them, but that didn't go particularly well when they had the Enterprise, and this is something that half an hour ago was buried in a mountain. The only way this ship is surviving those things is if it started to fossilize. We're going to need a better plan than that.
Captain, the flight patterns of bees are determined by individual decisions. Krull swarm formations are too complex not to rely on some form of unified cyberpathic coordination.
Well, that much is obvious.
Scotty, can you beam me onto one of those swarm ships?
Have you gone completely mad?
Yes or no?
No. Yes. Maybe.
Scotty, are you being indecisive?
No. Yes. Maybe.
Spock thinks that he can do it, but to placate the others who are concerned that after being cut open he might not be in the best of shape, he suggests Bones come along to help, who appreciates the inclusions about as much as a kid who learns they're going to spend spring break picking up trash on the side of the road. While Bones takes the wheel, Spock gets into the swarm ship system and fills them in on how they're all working together, and how they might be able to disrupt that. pretty effective, although if I was going to make a bunch of ships kill themselves, I'd have used MacArthur Park. But Krall is able to evade and breach Yorktown, so we'll need a plan to stop him. Step 1, throw away the plan. Spock and Bones are in pursuit as well, so they herd Krall and his 2 escort ships into the central area of Yorktown so that Franklin can use the crazy geometry here to cut them off and then take them out. But Krall's too tough and mysterious of a villain to be dead after that, so a search reveals that people have been hit by his life vampire touch thing, so yeah, he is still a problem. But they have a new lead on this whole mysterious thing. Uhura recognizes Krall as Captain Edison of the Franklin before he turned into this freak. The records show that he was in the military, but when the Federation was formed, the Makos were incorporated into Starfleet, and he became one of their starship captains. The Franklin wound up on that planet then, most of the crew died, and he found the technology that the original inhabitants had left behind, including a machine for immortality. Presumably through that life-sucking that he does. I doubt that's just a hobby that he's picked up along the way. They figure his plan is to use the bioweapon cloud thing. Krall will seek out the spot to maximize its effectiveness, which would be the air circulator. So they leap into action to thwart him. That'll work. Much faster than I thought it'd be.
We lost ourselves, but gained a purpose. A means to bring the galaxy back to the struggle that made humanity strong.
Like when we fought monsters with our giant robots. I miss those days. Kirk tries to get through to the man who resents having to make peace with their enemies. But this is not the era where Kirk can thwart the villain with a well-placed speech. So Krall makes a break for it, using the wonky gravity here to aid in his getaway. This is what too much Romulan ale feels like. Kirk and Krall trade mini speeches, offering the snippets of insight into the character that have been sadly fleeting. While there are hints and foreshadowings, such as referring to the USS Franklin as old friend, what we get is a glimpse of what really could have taken Krall fully to the next level. Krall is the soldier who has been forced to be a peacemaker. Interesting considering how Kirk's main timeline counterpart struggled with that exact same thing. But consider that Edison before all of this was a survivor of brutal combat and now placed on a mission that he no longer believed in. In the New Federation, he was a relic, and on that planet where they crashed, he was forgotten. His resentment is to a degree understandable, and the growing of that resentment into his new purpose a natural outgrowth in much the same way Khan, when marooned, nurtured a drive for revenge. But Krall instead takes it as a revenge on what he sees as a failed philosophy. Sadly, this is undermined in the film, as the makeup gets into Idris Elba's way. Or rather, it seems to make him get in his own way because of it. Knowing who he is and what makes him tick reveals how much the film seems to be wasting the opportunity with him because of that. Because rather than being larger than life, like we might expect, Krall is pulled back and offers only a tiny hint that perhaps he could have been an echo of Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now, a man who also felt betrayed by his country. If anyone could breathe life into such a character, Idris Elba certainly could. But combining the way that he changed his performance in light of his alien appearance with some of the deficiencies found in the script, I think it left his character, well, falling far short of where he could have been as a truly effective villain. But as you can see, it's time for the climax. Krall has released the weapon, so they're going to try to blow it out into space, which requires a whole lot of switches. I still think, though, that a kid with a few well-placed pennies could have done that faster. Krall meets his ironic end being blown out while engulfed in his own weapon, and Kirk would have joined him if not for Bones and Spock rescuing him first. But still, he gets most of the credit for being the big damn hero.
You saved this entire base, Kirk. Millions of souls. Thank you.
Am I the only one who expects her to start swearing like a longshoreman? So Kirk decides to turn down being Vice Admiral, and after looking through Ambassador Spock's effects and finding the picture of his own Enterprise crew, Spock is inspired to remain with his. Jayla is given a chance to go to the Academy. The ship that is being built here is now changed to be the Enterprise A, and everybody gets to say the Boldly Go speech, this time having earned it.